Okay, we are at the top of the hour. I expect that there will be more people joining us, but everyone, welcome to our Center of Excellence webinar regarding alignment in apprenticeship initiatives. I'm Lisa Rice. I'm a part of the Soffel Partners work and staff on this Center of Excellence. And you are going to get to hear from Doug Keast, who is with us today. And this is part one of a part 3 series. So he's going to take you only so far, and then you're going to come back for part 2 and part 3. Everyone should remember that this is recorded and that it will be available on the YouTube channel for National Association of Workforce Development Professionals. Too much apprenticeship. I just say apprenticeship everywhere. So let's get ourselves going. I'm going to go off camera. I will join you at the end and tell you a little bit more about the center. But in the meantime, everyone, this is Doug Keast. We welcome him from one of our partners, National Disability Institute. Take it away, Doug.
Thank you, Lisa. And it's wonderful to be here today and discuss our favorite topic, apprenticeship alignment. My name is Doug Keast, and I'm a project manager with the National Disability Institute. For 43 years, I've focused on disability and employment on local, state, and national levels. In all of the work that I've been involved with in my various capacities, I don't think that there's anything more important to customer service than aligning the expertise and resources of the multiple programs to respond to those that we serve together. And that's what we're going to talk about today. For those of you joining us today who identify customer service as one of your top values, our hope is that you recognize systems alignment as the most important means to improve customer service. This is whether you're thinking about a business customer, job-seeking customers, or a specific targeted population within job seekers, such as veterans, youth, or people with disabilities. Systems alignment is best driven by customer service design. In other words, with the experience of the customer in mind. In the course of our 3 webinar series that Lisa referred to on system alignment, today our focus is going to be on guidance and practice. Next month, we'll address a process for alignment assessment that we think a lot of you may find very interesting and useful. And this will include an overview of an assessment tool which our center can support your apprenticeship initiative leadership team in using. In October, we will discuss how to use information gathered from alignment assessment to improve the implementation and sustainability of apprenticeship initiatives. So our objectives today are as follows. We'll begin by setting the table with a quick review of relevant guidance for our system alignment. Then we'll discuss alignment practice examples based on a review of unified and combined state plans and a follow-up call to representatives in a few states. And then we'll wrap up today's discussion with the identification of key drivers of apprenticeship initiatives and their importance in preparation for the second session to this 3-part series that will be held next month. The very first words in the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA, state the purpose, which also gives the reader a hint of its vision for customer service. To amend the Workforce Investment Act of 1998 to strengthen the United States workforce development system through innovation in and alignment and improvement of employment, training, and education programs in the United States. As guidance, WIOA is directly relevant to the workforce system, which is just one of the 4 key drivers for apprenticeship expansion. This guidance to the workforce system is the basis for a customer service vision articulated later on that is foundational to systems alignment on a broader scale that includes the other key apprenticeship players. On August 13, 2015, joint guidance went out to the field from the Department of Labor, the Rehabilitation Services Administration, and the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education, stating on page 3 of each of these separate guidance documents, under WIOA, partner programs, and entities that are jointly responsible for workforce and economic development, educational, and other human resource programs collaborate to create a seamless, customer-focused, one-stop delivery system that integrates service delivery across all programs and enhances access to program services. This guidance is titled Vision for One-Stop Delivery under WIOA, and it is delivered in Labor's Teagle 4-15 from the OCTAE's PM 15-3 and RSA's TAC 15-01. In the first paragraph of WIOA, we saw the word alignment used with regard to employment, training, and education programs. And in these field memos, we see the word integrates used in a similar fashion as a value for a customer-focused one-stop delivery system. Both of these terms, alignment and integration, are commonly used with regard to a vision for customer service. These terms are not defined, though, in an operational way that can be evaluated either from those in the workforce system leadership roles or from the outside in these or other federal guidance documents. To a certain extent, this is a quality that can only be defined operationally where the rubber hits the road, and most effectively by those entities whose alignment is desired together. So today, we'll discuss key drivers for alignment and practices as they relate to apprenticeship. In our next session in September, we'll talk about a process for assessing alignment across key entities. And in October, we'll talk about using this information to strengthen apprenticeship initiatives. As guidance, WIOA applies directly to the workforce system. But just as the workforce system has multiple moving components, each with separate accountabilities to different masters, so too do the key drivers of every apprenticeship initiative. To this point, the value of alignment to achieve stronger responsiveness to customers with apprenticeship strategies is just as important. Alignment was first established as a value for customer service in the Workforce Investment Act, or WIA, and then expanded with WIOA implementation. Let's take a look at the Department of Labor guidance relevant to apprenticeship. On November 22nd, 2006, 8 years into the implementation of WIA and a little over 7 years prior to the release of WIOA, the Department of Labor sent to the field the Training and Employment Notice, or TEN 17-06, entitled Vision for the 21st Century Apprenticeship. In this guidance, DOL sought to ensure that apprenticeship is viewed as a critical post-secondary education and training option available through the one-stop delivery system, or American Job Centers, as we were just starting to refer to them. As apprenticeship itself is not a program in the sense of the programs required in WIA to make their services available through the AJCs, we are recognizing that valuable skill pipeline strategies to meet business demands might be lost to areas if workforce boards do not include the use of apprenticeship in their service plans. This 10 includes apprenticeship components and examples. Nearly a year later, in July of 2007, Labor released Training and Employment Guidance Letter, or TEAGLE 2-07 to the field, entitled Leveraging Registered Apprenticeship as a Workforce Development Strategy for the Workforce Investment System. It is stated with this release that this TEAGLE includes information to support the full integration of registered apprenticeship into workforce system activities. The guidance addresses the flexibilities for the use of Title I program funding to support individuals in their participation in apprenticeship and describes the natural role of the workforce system as a convener to bring together the key business networks and employment programs to support successful apprenticeship strategies. On May 12, 2012, DOL released another 10, 44-11, as a follow-up to the 2007 TEAGLE, restating earlier guidance and encouraging workforce systems in their embracing of apprenticeships with a focus on 3 things: taking advantage of the flexible process for the inclusion of registered apprenticeship programs in the eligible training provider list, or ETPL, in the use of WIA and department grant funds to support registered apprenticeship, and in the inclusion of apprenticeship outcomes in the WIA performance measures. In January of 2017, the Department of Labor issued TEGL 13-16, entitled Guidance on Registered Apprenticeship Provisions and Opportunities in the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which updated the earlier guidance to be consistent with the provisions of WIOA, including the use or the status of registered apprenticeship sponsors as eligible training providers, flexibility of WIOA funding to support apprenticeship, membership on workforce boards, and the reporting of registered apprenticeship activity. This guidance includes suggestions to workforce leadership on how to coordinate with the registered apprenticeship program. Through these and other released guidances to the field, the Department of Labor describes a vision and provides examples on how workforce systems can and should embrace apprenticeship strategies to more effectively meet the needs of area businesses. Similar guidance and encouragement continues to be released by the Department of Labor, complemented by investments through large state grants with a focus on expanding apprenticeships in states and more effectively including populations of Americans that have not historically been effectively included in these opportunities. These messages to the field not only include guidance, but also tips and examples to support their encouragement to state and local systems. So, how are states responding to this guidance and encouragement? Are they taking advantage of opportunities provided by the Department of Labor through state grants to utilize some of the tips and examples included in these messages to the field? Well, our Center of Excellence on Strategic Partnership and Systems Alignment reviewed unified and combined state plans developed in 2020 to find out how apprenticeship strategies figure in their plans to improve the pipeline of talent to meet the needs of industry. In our review, we identified several practices that reflect intentional effort to align the key drivers in apprenticeship. The first one that jumped out to us is the establishment of a state-level work group or state workforce development board committee with a focus on expanding apprenticeship to meet skill needs for business sectors. This was articulated in 17 state plans. These work groups or committees were developed in a process unique to the business service culture or design inherent in each state. Sometimes they were expansions of earlier planning structures, and in other cases, they were created through a fresh assessment of business needs in a state. The activities stimulated in states by large apprenticeship expansion grant initiatives often provided opportunities to enhance collaborative apprenticeship efforts. A second example that we noted in state plans included efforts to establish apprenticeship expertise in American Job Centers, or AJCs. This was noted in 16 state plans. In these examples, professionals operating in American Job Centers added knowledge of apprenticeship opportunities to their toolbox. In some cases, apprenticeship subject matter experts from apprenticeship offices joined service teams, whether with business service representatives on the American Job Center business service teams, or with employment specialists, case managers, and career counselors in services to job seekers. In other cases, the AJC business service representatives and employment specialists expanded their skills to support businesses and job seekers in apprenticeship strategies. We noted in 17 states that apprenticeship was identified as a unique and focused strategy in the state plan to meet aspects of the state plan's vision for workforce development. 7 state plans clearly identify outcome measures in terms of numbers of apprentices and numbers of registered apprenticeship programs. While we're aware that more states than 7 consider impact in these terms, this measure was identified clearly as an indicator of success of state plan activity. Including these outcomes as an indicator of success in state workforce plan activity is an obvious demonstration of workforce system leadership and alignment in apprenticeship. There were 15 states that reported state-level investments, such as funding investments to increase apprenticeship activity and policy activity, like establishing tax incentives for businesses that establish apprenticeships as a strategy to address their skill needs. After completing this review, our team followed up with a few states to gather more information on their apprenticeship practices as noted in their plans. We'll talk a little bit about 5 of those examples today. These include 2 states that have established an aligned leadership approach to the state level to expand apprenticeship, Illinois and Idaho, and then discuss 3 other state examples, Alaska, Connecticut, and Kentucky, who have taken steps to incorporate apprenticeship expertise and activity in local workforce system support to businesses and job-seeking customers. I'm pleased to share that there are, of course, as we noted earlier, other states taking measures similar to these 5 states, but we won't have time to talk about all of those today. But we will start with Illinois. And in our call with Illinois, we spoke with Kim Kuchenbrod with the Illinois State University, and she's the Work-Based Learning and Talent Pipeline Administrator, with Patrick Campbell, the division manager with the Office of Employment and Training and Work-Based Learning Programs, and with Tanner Crawford, Illinois State University, who provides the support to the Illinois Workforce Investment Board, which is Illinois' state workforce development board. When the workforce system began coordinating with the Federal Office of Apprenticeship in an effort to leverage WIOA funding to support the apprenticeship activity, they recognized that there was a lack of understanding among businesses about the opportunities and benefits through apprenticeship. Together, Workforce and the Office of Apprenticeship established a task force, incorporating what are now the core programs, with an intent to align services and apprenticeship expansion. The focus was to make this support to businesses in apprenticeship one of the many components available to businesses through the business services of the workforce system. The task force established a work plan, and then the first apprenticeship or federal apprenticeship grant came to the state of Illinois. With the implementation of this apprenticeship grant, the task force became formalized in around 2016 and was supported by the Illinois Employment and Training Work-Based Learning Programs Division. They met in person quarterly and by phone monthly. As more grants came in, developed and implemented through the leadership of this task group, the task group grew and became attached to the governor's office and functioned and continues to function as the Apprenticeship Illinois Committee. And this is a committee to the Illinois Workforce Investment Board. With the establishment of the task group as the Apprenticeship Illinois Committee to the IWIB, the chair of the committee is also a member of the Workforce Investment Board, and the committee reports on a regular basis to the state board. This committee has some crossover with the IWIB's Business Engagement Committee, as there are members that sit on both committees. The committee has 4 work groups that address marketing, systems and support, youth apprenticeship, and it has a work group addressing pre-apprenticeship. Each work group has their own plan and structure with separate monthly meetings and action items based on the work plans that each group develops. This committee coordinates the responses to federal grant opportunities, and each apprenticeship initiative follows a common approach. It's a hub and spoke approach. There are 10 navigator entities that are laid out like work groups rather than individuals, and these entities include business service representatives, economic development representatives, chambers of commerce, and business sector associations. These navigators have the heavy lift and carry the message out to the businesses and the business groups. Intermediaries operate as the boots on the ground and support the businesses with developing and implementing apprenticeship activity, including related training instruction. This approach is modeled from a review of practice in other states. Illinois' management of the model is structured by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Talent Pipeline Management, or TPM, And there's an emphasis on diversifying apprenticeship, which requires the engagement of additional stakeholders. So the representation of this group includes the workforce system, Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV, and TANF. It includes community colleges and high school representation, representation from businesses and business associations, from labor and trade associations, and they've also identified stakeholders to apprenticeship to be included. This committee to the IWIB is established in state policy, which articulates the representation across key drivers of apprenticeship in Illinois for the purpose of strengthening the investment in apprenticeship expansion across these identified drivers. Now let's go to Idaho. With Idaho, we talked with Terry Gamble, program manager with the Workforce Programs Administration, and Gina Robison, a program supervisor, also with the Workforce Programs Administration. In driving the expansion of apprenticeship as a strategy for developing and engaging talent and skill and meeting the needs of Idaho industry, the public workforce system and the Office of Apprenticeship lead together. The Office of Apprenticeship was included in establishing the Apprenticeship Idaho Coalition, which is guided by 3 state U.S. Department of Labor grantees. The Idaho Department of Labor, which has the SAE or State Apprenticeship Expansion Grant, the Apprenticeship State Expansion ASE, and the State Apprenticeship Expansion Equity and Innovation Grants. Also included are the Idaho Workforce Development Council, which is the Youth Apprenticeship Readiness Grant grantee, and the Idaho Career Technical Education, which is the Closing the Skills Grant grantee. And together with Workforce and the Office of Apprenticeship, with this committee, have expanded the diversity and leadership of apprenticeship expansion through this committee. The AIC operates as a standalone committee, but its design supports activity operation that is coordinated with the planning and focus of the Idaho Workforce Development Council, their state workforce development board. The directors of these 3 agencies that are grantees have a final review and approval of coalition direction. And these directors also serve as board members of the Idaho Workforce Development Council. The council has had an operating apprenticeship committee, but that activity has been rolled up into what is now the Work-Based Learning Committee. The AIC created its brand with the Idaho Department of Labor with the support of the Office of Apprenticeship. As the coalition grew, the State Workforce Development Board became involved and other leaders became engaged to increase its capacity to operate as a sustainable statewide apprenticeship expansion effort. This group assesses the status of current apprenticeship activity, develops strategies to build new programs and strengthen existing ones, and continues to review progress and update targets and strategies over time. In other words, the group identifies sticky points and works together to iron them out. Among its members, the coalition includes, again, the Idaho Workforce Development Council, Idaho Business for Education, Idaho Department of Labor, Idaho Career Technical Education, Idaho AFL-CIO, the agency that oversees the Title I services, the Office of Apprenticeship, Vocational Rehabilitation, the Idaho Department of Veterans Services, and the Idaho Department of Corrections. This coalition meets on a regular basis based on the amount of activity the group is engaged in. They can meet anywhere from weekly to quarterly. Apprenticeship Idaho reports out to each participating agency and the state board. The group is also developing a web portal which will include the resources of partners and related training instruction providers. Their objectives are to find common terminology, conduct common outreach, alignment using single language and decrease confusion by apprentices and sponsors, understanding what everyone is working on in apprenticeship, and to create a pathway for potential apprentices, a funnel that leads them to who can help them the best. The membership activity and structure of this coalition supports the alignment of the activity of the state's apprenticeship initiatives, as the grantees are all a part of the leadership of this group. The AIC is currently reviewing possible needs for changes in state guidance and policy where apprenticeship is concerned. They're working with the Council of State Governments to establish a position within state government with a focus on expanding apprenticeship and adjusting state law and policy to encourage and allow apprenticeship. The AIC is at the point where it sees its investment in partnership as a sustainability of positive change that occurs because of the coalition's work. Moving forward, the team also looks at data on co-enrollment and braided funding as indicators of alignment in the apprenticeship activity. With Alaska, we had the privilege of speaking with James Harvey, the Deputy Director and Division Operations Manager, and Anna Velarde, Workforce Board Apprenticeship Coordinator. Operationally, the workforce system is the primary driver of apprenticeship expansion in the state of Alaska, but it works closely with the Federal Office of Apprenticeship. The workforce team began working with John Hakala from the Office of Apprenticeship about 20 years ago, and beginning in 2008, the Office of Apprenticeship began working more closely with the State Workforce Board. Alaska has long been a strong apprenticeship state with a solid construction trade program. The Office of Apprenticeship in Alaska had 2 individuals covering the state, which is a large geographic area. So they established a strategy with the workforce system to increase the expertise available in the American Job Centers. Implementing the strategy was slow at first, but then federal apprenticeship grants began coming to the state. These grant opportunities have been instrumental in accelerating apprenticeship, and in doing so, building stronger career pathways. The strategy to build staff expertise in the American Job Centers through training was established so staff providing business services to employers could support them in registering and operating apprenticeship programs and in connecting job seekers to rewarding career pathways through apprenticeship opportunities. The Office of Apprenticeship staff provide training directly to the selected AJC program staff. The curricula included a focus on working with businesses to support them in successful registration and operation of an apprenticeship program. In Alaska, there are AJC staff who can charge time to the Wagner-Pizer or Title III program, Title I programs, and veteran services. And these staff have been the earlier targets for investment in building apprenticeship expertise. At this time, there are 3 full-time staff focused on apprenticeship, supported by the training that they received. And there are additional trained staff operating out of key area hubs: Fairbanks, Kenai, Anchorage, Ketchikan, and Wasilla. The state recognizes a need to widen the net for building apprenticeship expertise in the American Job Center to the case managers, counselors, and business specialists of other programs in order to both increase the level of communication of apprenticeship opportunities across programs and to increase the inclusion of service populations that may be underrepresented in apprenticeship. So for job seekers, the business specialists and case managers go through cross-training on the service management aspects of programs operating in the American Job Center to support job seeker co-enrollment upon engagement in an apprenticeship program. This cross-training establishes foundational knowledge of apprenticeship, as well as a medium for ongoing communication of expanding opportunities that will lead to the engagement of job seekers into rewarding apprenticeships. Intermediaries have also been engaged with the American Job Center case managers to support the enrollment of potential apprentices in pre-apprenticeship training opportunities, which are free and easily available. Some of these pre-apprenticeship opportunities are available statewide. For businesses, as a result of the training and ongoing support by the Workforce Board Apprenticeship Coordinator, the apprenticeship specialist operates as a part of the American Job Center Business Services team and supports businesses in operating apprenticeship programs. As an apprenticeship specialist works with or meets with an employer, he or she will provide apprentices or apprenticeship information, including a sponsorship application, provide support and technical assistance in registration, and continue to support the business in successful operation of the apprenticeship program. The apprenticeship specialist will focus the sponsorship application to the state apprenticeship coordinator, who reviews the application before sending it off to the Office of Apprenticeship. The state will mediate with the Office of Apprenticeship and the employer in completing the registration. And once it is signed, the apprenticeship specialist signs off with the Office of Apprenticeship and the business. Making the apprenticeship expertise an inherent part of customer services, both to the job seekers and to the business customers of an American Job Center, is the primary customer service objective in this practice. Maintaining that expertise through ongoing training and technical support by both the Office of Apprenticeship and the State Board Apprenticeship Coordinator is a primary emphasis. The challenges of COVID-19 and staff turnover have made it very clear that leadership is required to be vigilant in maintaining this support. Alaska leadership recognizes that grants are not sustainability. WIOA and the policies and procedures established in its operation are sustainability. So moving to Connecticut, we spoke with Erica Tu, the Unit Director for WIOA Administration, Todd Birch, who is the State Apprenticeship Director with the Office of Apprenticeship Training, the state's state approving agency, the State Apprenticeship Agency in the Connecticut Department of Labor, and Kathleen Mariani, a Unit Director with the Office of Workforce Competitiveness. The State Apprenticeship Agency is housed, as mentioned, with the Connecticut Department of Labor Agency. This alignment supports the ease in which apprenticeship program employers may have access to and be included in the eligible training provider list, or ETPL, connecting the state office's 6 apprenticeship training representatives, or ATRs, with the workforce systems business service representatives, and working with all workforce systems to create the wraparound services to support apprentices and programs if eligible. The state of Connecticut has a strong emphasis on work-based learning on a wide scale. And this close connection between the SAA and the workforce leadership strengthens the ability of the system to expand the use of apprenticeship beyond the trades. The State Apprenticeship Agency and the workforce system see the American Job Centers as the nucleus for developing effective pre-apprenticeship programs and skill pipelines for businesses. The AJC's established connections with the business customer, as well as access to the talents and career focus of job seekers. Through this nucleus, workforce systems establish talent pipelines, which engage potential apprentices in skills-based opportunities. Connecticut's Office of Apprenticeship Training has 6 ATRs, each assigned to one of the 6 workforce areas that overlap with the 5 local workforce boards. These professionals provide training and support to workforce area customer service teams and function as a part of the business services in each area. So for job seekers, case managers and other customer service professionals receive a basic orientation on apprenticeship, as well as regular updates from the ATR assigned to their workforce area. With this support, career assessment and counseling for each job seeker served in the AJC includes a potential connection to apprenticeship opportunities based on his or her career interests and objectives. For the businesses, each workforce area has a business services team that operates out of the AJC to serve business customers. This team includes business service representatives, BSRs, or other business service professionals for all of the core programs, the Workforce Board, community colleges, and other programs operating through the AJC, and the ATR, the Apprenticeship Training Representative. As a member of the business services team in each workforce area, the ATR can blend apprenticeship development and support in with the business service expertise of all programs in meeting the business customers' needs. The ATR also provides ongoing orientation and updates to the others on the business services team. The local workforce board in each of the 6 areas completes their own business needs assessments and strategies to meet those needs, including the development of pre-apprenticeship programs. The expertise of the ATR supports the customer service teams in implementing these strategies. Connecticut has established the State Apprenticeship Agency within the Connecticut Department of Labor as a sustainable strategy to support the alignment of apprenticeship activity with the operation of all workforce programs. And now we'll talk a little bit about Kentucky. We had the opportunity to meet with Michelle DeJohn, the Executive Director of the Office of Employer and Apprenticeship Services, the OEAS in Kentucky. And this office is housed in the Kentucky Workforce Development Cabinet and supports registered apprenticeship as a workforce solution. In 2018, the state administration brought all of the business services together as a part of the state's one-stop workforce system. This office has a statewide workforce team of 5 consultants, which support businesses in navigating the workforce system and they connect to all services available through the programs that operate through the American Job Centers. And they support the businesses with a registered apprenticeship. This office also has 3 registration specialists who work with the businesses through the registration and implementation processes. The consultants work with the job seeker and business service teams operating in all regional job centers statewide. The regional business service teams operate as a concierge for employers to all services, including apprenticeship. With regard to tracking the information they track in Kentucky, while the state continues to monitor and report the number of apprentices and the number of registered apprenticeship programs, of which there are currently 4,000 apprentices and 353 programs, the leadership monitors WIOA measures and key economic indicators to support strategic services to businesses. And they report the number of apprentices and the number of registered apprenticeship programs and the WIOA performance to the state board, and address this also in their state plan. With regard to driving the implementation of WIOA and business services supports, Kentucky recognizes that apprenticeship is an important strategy to meet the skills needs of its businesses, and the OEAS works closely with the other departments and agencies that make up the system. Together, they are Team Kentucky, one workforce. The team meets every 2 weeks and models this planning structure for the local level replication for each separate workforce area. Impact continues to be noted in terms of growth in numbers of apprentices and programs as reported in the state plan. But increased impact is desired in terms of the geography of the state, types of industry, and with inclusion of specific populations that are underrepresented in apprenticeship. The OEAS activity is funded primarily through the state and grant funding. The office has been a branch of state government for many years, but the move into the Workforce Development Cabinet is an investment into an established alignment with workforce programs that make up the state's workforce system. At this time, I'd like to thank all of the folks with these 5 states and other states that took the time to visit with our team following our review of the state plans. So why is alignment important? In these examples, we've talked about varying approaches to service strategies that may involve alignment of key programs, agencies, or offices to establish stronger apprenticeship programs. Many of us have been involved in a collaborative approach to achieve some level of systems change in customer service in the past. Working on an initiative with 12 professionals from other community programs or other community leaders is at the same time the best and the worst aspect of this work. From the worst standpoint, we've all heard it before. There are meetings. There's time to develop consensus around the vision of need and purpose and the desired outcomes, the activity needed to achieve those outcomes, and the roles that each of us will play. Success in effective apprenticeship expansion, however, requires the leadership of others besides ourselves. There's no one of us that can drive an effective apprenticeship initiative on our own. If you are a business, you will benefit from the leadership of educators that will support the related training instruction that complements the work experience that you offer in developing the skills needed for success. The workforce system, which is a network of many employment and training programs, not only has resources to support the businesses in their employment strategies, but also has the internal capacity to engage the talents and abilities of individuals from populations that are often overlooked when it comes to participation in the labor market. When these entities are aligned and engaged in leadership roles in an initiative of this type, you're able to start working downhill instead of uphill. When the others involved see their success in the same terms as you do, that's when you'll channel efforts to achieve that success in terms of commitment of expertise and resources. It's at this point where there's an investment on everyone's part in the success of the effort. These other entities are not invested if they see their efforts in place to help your program. This is where we get to the part, and we acknowledge that it isn't an easy road always to get to this point, where working with multiple programs, professionals, and community leaders is the best part of your work. This is where your combined efforts lead to sustainable changes in service delivery. If all of the key components required for a strategy to work or for a change in service delivery to occur are on board and want it to happen, it happens. If a key element to a strategy is not included, a key partner is not included, and not a part of the leadership and implementation, things that are developed by others will be less likely to be successful, whether it's because they run into resistance or because key entities are not invested in what they see as the success of others and not themselves. Sustainability rarely happens as a result of outside funding opportunities or in the effort and inspiration of a single rugged individual. These things can be inspirational and foundational, but a sustained institution, like a building, has many sides, and the foundation must be solid on all sides. This brings us to our discussion of drivers. In a review of apprenticeship guidance in the 2020 Unified and Combined Plans of all of the United States and territories, we noted that while there were many diverse players in the realm of apprenticeship, there were 4 key, what we call drivers for apprenticeship strategies. These are directions from which leadership should be engaged for successful apprenticeship initiatives. Depending on the location and the focus of the initiative, there may be other entities required for successful implementation, but consideration of these 4 are suggested as a core. The makeup of these drivers exist in all states. First and foremost, business. Includes businesses, business sectors, intermediaries, entities that represent the business needs for talent and skills. Then there's the training providers, those entities that provide the related training instruction that complement the work experience provided in the apprenticeship activities. The third driver is the state workforce system, including those programs identified as core and required partners in WIOA. And then fourth, the federal apprenticeship program or the state apprenticeship agency, depending on how the state is set up for approving and supporting apprenticeship programs, and the Apprenticeship Advisory Council in states where there is a state apprenticeship office. A strong state approach in apprenticeship will engage representation of each of these 4 drivers in a leadership role, because each of these drivers can be very diverse internally Well, because each of these drivers can be very diverse internally, such as the workforce system, identifying the most effective representation of that driver can be a challenge. And often it is beneficial to include multiple representatives from a particular driver.
Hi, Doug, and I just wanted to give you a quick time check. We have about 15 more minutes.
Okay.
You're doing great.
Well, thank you.
We have about 15 minutes.
And we're wrapping up, so I really appreciate that.
Perfect.
With regard to other stakeholders, often it is useful to include other key stakeholder representatives in leadership too, in addition to the 4 drivers. If the focus of the expansion effort is in the engagement of a particular sector of the community, such as people with disabilities, veterans, or those dependent upon public support, there are key stakeholder representatives, representations that can contribute to the leadership to strengthen it. Government or economic development agencies are often in a position through their roles, resources, and networks to increase the successful implementation of apprenticeship programs. Any entity in your community or state that has an investment in the success of the apprenticeship strategy or initiative should be considered for inclusion in a leadership role. So we've come to the end of our foundational session on apprenticeship systems alignment, and hope that you'll join us next month on September 14th, when we talk about assessing where you are at in terms of alignment. We'll talk about a process for assessment based on consensus development for a team on definition and expectations for alignment. We'll address the differences between participation in a leadership or in a leveraged role, and levels of alignment that make assessment possible as a leadership team. In our final session on October 19th, we will discuss how to use this assessment information to support your team's strategic planning towards success for your apprenticeship program. Please join us for both sessions if you're able. And if you're working with an interagency team to implement an apprenticeship initiative, we invite you to bring your colleagues with you. So I'm not going to read everything that's on this slide. I'll very quickly hit the highlights. Today, we reviewed the vision for alignment in customer service through WIOA as it relates to alignment with apprenticeship. We reviewed the activities of 5 states in their implementation of apprenticeship initiatives, in particular with regard to alignment of key drivers at the state level to support state planning, and with regard to how apprenticeship expertise is made available through America's Job Centers. We concluded with a short discussion on the importance of alignment to successful apprenticeship initiatives, and we reviewed the 4 key driver entities that exist in every state and are suggested for inclusion in joint leadership roles in planning and implementing apprenticeship initiatives. So at this point, we're open for questions. Thank you, Lisa, for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where I jump back in. So does anyone have any questions for Doug on this part so far? And if you do, again, you can type it into the chat. You can also come off mute and ask your questions. And if not, that's cool. We're giving you all sorts of information. You will be able to go back and review this as well. And definitely hope that you can join us for the next 2 sessions, because we'll actually be bringing a tool to you that you can then start to use with everything. Okay, Doug, let's go ahead and go on to your resources 1, 2.
Okay.
And
I thought I'd mention too, with the states that we did the interviews, if folks would like more information about what's going on in the states, I'd be happy to share
yes,
some notes that we pulled from those interviews.
Cool. Thank you, Doug. And actually, along with that, that entire thing of the review that we did of the 50 states is actually being put together as a report. It's in its final stages. I hope that it gets out the door here in September timeframe. That's what we're shooting for. That will show you, you know, all the state breakdowns, those numbers that you saw at the beginning where Doug was saying like 16 people, 16 states have this and 17 have this. You'll be able to see which of those states have which things. So a very good way to be able to kind of like copy what other people are doing. All right, let's go ahead and go forward, Doug.
Okay, so again, earlier in this session today, we referenced Department of Labor guidance as it relates to WIA and WIOA and apprenticeship. This slide features the links to the referenced guidance that I talked about. So as you're planning or implementing apprenticeship activities to support the talent pipelines for businesses in your state, we hope that you'll find these references useful. And we also have at the bottom here an opportunity to become an apprenticeship partner with our center. And we hope that you'll join us. And to talk a little bit more about that, Lisa's going to share a little bit.
Thanks, Doug. And actually, I do want to reference back to those Tegels and 10s that you have. I look at 13-16 all the time, you guys. So this is something that, you think you know what it says, and then you have to go back and check what it says. So I have actually bookmarked, I think all but maybe that 1706 one. I don't think I have that one bookmarked, but I have every single other one of these bookmarked just because I oftentimes run into questions from people and I'm like, well, I got to go back and take a look at what it says. So I highly recommend that you take that time to do it. And as you move forward in your setup of your registered apprenticeships, these resources will serve you very, very well. I know that. All right, cool, Doug, if you want to take me forward. So let's go forward one more there and we'll just talk about what we're doing. So first of all, the Center of Excellence, as I've said before, and you guys have heard me, I know, millions of times, we are here to help provide some technical assistance to everyone who is trying to set up a registered apprenticeship program, or even just is trying to figure out, how do I even start this whole process? Like, who do I invite to the table? It's from A to Z. If you have a program or you're working with an employer who has a program and now they want to expand on it, that's cool. We can help with that part too. So we are here to help provide you information. So one of the things we would love for you to do is to be a part of this as a partner. And when you are a partner, we do take your best practices that you may send forward to us on, and we make sure that they are broadcast. They are given to the Office of Apprenticeship. They are oftentimes turned into webinars here that we are doing. By the way, OA is oftentimes on these webinars, and they are also recorded and told, where they can go for the recordings too. And then again, we also try to help you network with others who are doing things. So if you're like, I really want to be a part of, whatever Alaska has been doing so far, we can help make those kinds of connections so you can have those conversations a little bit easier. So that's kind of what comes from being a part of being a partner. If you want to go to the next one for us, Doug. So how do you become a partner? Pretty simple. Hopefully everybody's grabbing their phone, pointing it at the screen right now, because that lovely little QR code will take you to become a center partner. It's a very simple, easy little form to fill out. And what it does, I tell you, we will not spam the heck out of you. What you're going to be able to see, though, is our newsletters that come out about every other month right now, and they tell you about the events that are happening. They highlight different best practices that are coming. They may be there may be a request for some information from you, like a quick little, survey or a couple of questions to answer on your registered apprenticeship stuff. And all of this leads to, again, you being able to be seen more for all of the hard work that you're doing, or to be able to connect with people who are already doing the work, but you're just starting and you need a little boost. So we encourage you to do that. The other thing that you can see there is the DOLCOE, softfulapps.com. That is our website, and the picture that's on this page is our website. So in the website, you will be able to look at resources for workforce, for education, and even for employers. We have resources. So in those sections, you can go in and you can get some specific resources that would help you. I had a lady email me the other day and ask me about, what can I do? You know, we're a CTE program. What can I do? There's a resource on there. There's a 30 minutes little webinar that's on there, and our toolkit, when we get that one done, will also go there. So tons of information, tons of resource links for you guys to take advantage of. All right. I think that puts us at the end, right, Doug?
Yep.
Yes, it does. And I just, there's Doug's info. If you need to get a hold of him, you can. If you want to ask him some more questions about, you know, hey, what the heck were they actually doing in Alaska? I keep saying Alaska because I maybe want to be in Alaska, I think. But we have done it. I wasn't sure we'd get through all the information you had, Doug, in time. And look at this. We got through it with 5 minutes to spare. So I want to thank Doug for being with us. I want to thank all of you who have been able to join us today. And we hope that we will get to see you at the next two, which are September, look at me, I'm trying to grab it, September 14th and October 19th. I believe those are already on the NAUTIP site, so you can go ahead and you can actually register for those right on the NAUTIP site as well. Appreciate you guys being here. Unless you have a question or anything, we'll let you go with 5 minutes. Bio break.
Thank
Thanks,
you, everybody. It's great.
thanks a lot, folks. Take care. Bye.